Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namassami. This evening I'll read the second half of Khandha Vimutti and Samangidhamma by Ajahn Mun, translated by Ajahn Paññavaddho. And I'm not sure how long it'll be. If there's more time, I have a few bonus readings. But if it fills the space, we'll just leave it there. So starting halfway through. Question. Please point out other different ways of the heart which are samudaya, the cause of suffering of the chitta, which are against Dhamma. Answer. Samudaya, the cause of suffering, is very extensive. But bringing it down to its essentials, it is love that forces the heart to long for the khandhas. If Dhamma had stayed eternally with the chitta, separate and apart, samudaya, the cause of suffering, could never have been. You must keep this in mind concerning the way of the chitta, and there's no need to go whirling around incessantly thinking until you go mad. For in whoever the Dhamma does not dwell unshakably and gladly attached, his heart falls into samudaya, the cause of suffering, longing for a body. To put it briefly, dukkha and Dhamma are constantly in the chitta. Take this in and work on it until you have sought out and experienced the truth of it for yourself. Then you will be entirely cool and peaceful, and however much sukha or dukkha you have, you will not be afraid. Doleful things, which mean samudaya, the cause of suffering, will steadily diminish and will go towards what is good. If you get the meaning of this, you will be close to curing your troubles, enough for you to get some rest and respite to search out and find the path of escape. The chitta which knows Dhamma forgets the chitta which is attached to dust, and the heart always knows the Dhamma which is sukha, and the khandhas which are truly dukkha. Dhamma is bound to be Dhamma, and the khandhas are bound to be the khandhas. That's all. And what is called cool peace, the dispersal of troubles, means the withdrawal of the chitta from the wrong way to which it is firmly attached. But as for the sankhara khandhas, they are void of sukha and are truly dukkha, because they are bound to grow old, be sick, and die one day, inevitably. If the chitta knows the supreme Dhamma, the chitta withdraws from wrong things which cause depression and harm, bad things which are severe, and serious faults of the heart. Seeing Dhamma displayed clearly extracts all of these things which are bad and which poison the heart. Then the chitta sees Dhamma in abundance which is free from fault. When one meets the Dhamma which strips off all agents of lust, one has sati, one is not involved, one's love for the khandhas is destroyed, and all pleasure in them ends. This is the end of all dust, and the end of anxiety and concern. So then, if one wants to think there's no reason why one shouldn't do so, according to one's natural inclinations. Questioner. When one doesn't prevent returning, one doesn't listen, and turbulence and trouble are free to go on, should one be able to know that evil has arisen? Because in truth it has. Answer. Evil can arise because of ignorance. If one can close the door against stupidity, it will be very peaceful, and evil of all kinds will disappear. One can't put up with it, so throw it out. The khandhas in all things incline to dukkha and never to sukha. Formerly I was dull and stupid, as though I had gone into a dark cave. Wanting to see Dhamma took hold of my heart, but without any real purpose. I took hold of memory, assuming that it was the heart, until I became addicted and obsessed in admiring memory and fondling it. I did it for a long time, and this false use of memory blinded me and wouldn't let me see. So I went astray playing with the 5 khandhas. It was pitiable, raising myself up to boast that I was free. I went about bullying and criticizing others who were my friends, which was quite useless. Going around looking at the faults of others is what arose in my heart. Like making a fire to burn myself, which was bound to make me dull and dirty. For whoever is right or wrong, and good or evil, is so for themselves alone. But as for one's own heart, one must try to be guarded and set up carefulness. Don't let evil things come and whirl around in you. You should be endowed with merit and right action which bring contentment. Then if one sees others do evil things, oneself remains good. It is the defilements, ragi, which seize the khandhas with firm intention, and having grasped them, one is bound to be really troubled because of old age and death. Repeatedly the evil kilesas, hot and steamy, gather and enter, stirring up trouble, full of love and anger, obviously blameworthy things, together with strong fear, a heavy heart, and tormenting thoughts. Time after time, the 5, there's a footnote, the 5 objects probably refers to the 5 sense objects. Time after time, the 5 objects of desire come enticing in, making displays of all kinds of things to show their power because one has grasped the 5 khandhas as one's own. Then it is hardly possible for one to get free from dukkha and danger. If you already know your own faults, and don't waste time, look at the characteristics of the sankharas, which are always impermanent, and get used to this. You will then probably come to admire the Dhamma that is the single and solitary citta. That impermanence refers to the heart, which is disturbed by memory. When seen, keep on looking at it and stay with it as it changes. Then as soon as all external objects, aramana, die away completely, Dhamma appears, and as soon as Dhamma is seen, the disturbance of the citta disappears. That citta is not attached to anything else, and this truth is the end of the door. Footnote. Door probably refers to shutting the door at the start of the question. Whether one knows the method of the heart in this way or not, if one penetrates and knows impermanence, the first citta arises. This is probably the original citta, which is truly unchanging, and knowing the original citta frees one from all falsehood without doubt. But if one goes outward, at the end of that citta is completely wrong. What is called darkness is because of the citta thinking possessively of good, and this possessive citta is at the end of the citta which thinks outwardly. The first citta is good when Dhamma appears and doubt disappears. Then there is the seeing of Dhamma, which is excellent and above all worlds. As for one's previous thinking, searching and whirling around, seeking, it all stops, stripped bare, and one has reached the end. But one still has dukkha in that one must lie down and sleep and eat food and do whatever is necessary. But the heart is tamed and close to the original citta, and in thinking it does not go searching. It is natural for the citta that it must think, but as soon as it feels the first free citta in distress, it withdraws into silence and stillness, away from that disturbance which is causing trouble. It is also normal for the sankharas to arise, but they also disappear in a similar way. In fact, all such things steadily diminish until none of them are left. Beware of the heart when memory becomes subtle, for it's likely to force the chitta to be attached to passivity. The heart is the impermanence of the heart. Look at this and see it all the time until you get used to it. When you reach the culmination of it, if you know in yourself the music of the heart, which is just like magical tricks that the Lord called vipassana pakilesa, footnote, distracting phenomena which interfere with insight, vipassana, which is just like magical tricks that the Lord called vipassana upakilesa, transformations of state, which are false even though they appear to be true. Knowing arises by itself, and it is given the name of seeing. But it's not like hearing and understanding at the level of asking questions and thinking over, pondering and analyzing rupanama, are also not seeing for oneself. Knowing spontaneously arises in oneself, but it's not the music of thinking which knows the original chitta, the first chitta, free of torment. The original chitta knows in itself for certain that the nature of the sankharas is that of incessant change. In this there is no process or manner which goes to look at or know anything, nor is it knowing for the purpose of making a claim. The chitta probably knows the chitta itself because of the restless fire. Footnote. The restless fire probably refers to the defilements, kilesa. And the chitta knows the restless change, and the chitta is attached to it and cannot get free of it, for in truth they are one and the same thing. This chitta has dual characteristics which are known as sanya, leading it into attachment. That impermanence is oneself fixing on another. Then the heart knows its own deterioration, and freedom is obscured. The heart then becomes insipid and dry, and it loses the taste of being free from doubt. Its search into those things which are about one, both externally and internally, is broken, and all one's aspirations wither and die away. Then anger and love and things which make the heart heavy go forth. But the desires of the heart can stop, thereby curing the trouble and torment and freeing all heaviness of heart and complaints. Like rain sprinkling over it, the heart is refreshed from the exhaustion of the irritable heart. The heart is cool because it doesn't have to go about with concern for others. Knowing the first chitta in the present frees one from torment. All good and evil are then of no great concern, and they must die away as well as all defilements. Live quietly. The first chitta is not concerned about the affairs of the chitta, having ended all thought and concern. There's no need to fuss and be busy, or to be careful. Just lie down or sit quiet and free and dwell in the original chitta. Questioner. You have pointed out the path, magga, for me to hear, showing the principle sharp and clearly. You are skilled in displaying points with a very broad scope and very brightly. But there is still another aspect of the heart which is not freed from samudaya, the cause of suffering. It would be good if you please point it out in a special way. Answer. Samudaya, the cause of suffering, is the longing of love, and if this obsession is very strong, it creates births anew, which one has no desire to stop and escape from. In the lower levels, this means that the 5 sensual desires are defiled. In the higher levels, the Lord pointed to the longing for jhana as being samudaya. If then one takes up and acts on the tendencies that are in one's chitta, it will be the story of obsessive thinking and sankhara, khandha, being obsessed in everything in the same way as it has been for ages. Then one turns to virtue to develop the citta, but in the wrong way, so that it often breaks up into wild and distracted thought. Then before long one becomes obsessed in bad ways without realizing that they are shameful. Those things that one emotionally likes, one admires and becomes obsessed with them. Obsessed until one forgets oneself with no fear of danger. Obsessed in looking at the faults of others full of evil, but one's own faults one doesn't see. Why so? However many faults other people have, they don't make oneself fall into hell at all. But one's own faults, which are sorry and doleful, don't need to be many to bring back vipaka, the results of kama, for one to fall into the greatest hell. Try to see your own faults all the time, so as to make your heart used to giving up those faults. This will probably make you admire sukha, which is free from dukkha and danger. When you see your own faults clearly, you must hurry to cut them off and get rid of them, for it's no use dawdling and thinking about getting rid of them without acting. In regard to always wanting good without ceasing, this is the basis of samudaya, the cause of suffering. It is a great fault, and the fear of not being good is very strong. Good and not good are strong poisons in the citta. It's like taking the wrong remedy when one has a fever. The disease is made much worse by such things which are harmful. Dhamma doesn't become clear because of wanting good. This is fundamental. If the desire for good is strong, it is bound to drag the citta about, making it think and wander about in turbulent ways, until the heart deteriorates and everything becomes increasingly doleful. This great fault makes one go further and further away from the Dhamma which is true. Questioner: when you point out samudaya, the cause of suffering here, my heart is afraid, and when I hear the underlying essence, it tends to be confusing and very involved. But when you point out magga, the path, it goes to my heart. I can't hold any more, and throw the rest out, and withdraw in the stillness in the calm heart. That's the end of it. This is called Khandha Vimutti and Samangidhamma, which is always present. It neither goes or comes and is a natural state, sabhava dhamma, which is true and singular, and neither moves about restlessly to keep going, nor loses its substance and meaning. This is the end of the matter, that's all. Whether this is right or wrong, you must use wisdom to think and look and know. Prabharidata Man, Wat Srapatang Man, the author. We'll leave it there. Any questions or reflections?
He likes to use the word doleful.
Yeah. You're not familiar with that one?
I'm kind of familiar with it.
Sad.
Sad. Bringing sadness separate.
Maybe it's British, possibly. More common.
Well, I mean, it's Latin. Like Via Dolorosa is the way where Christ in the stations of the cross, where he follows the station. It's the Via Dolorosa. So.
He uses in this. Maybe Yananda uses it. The Buddha has a simile as well. The whirling around of consciousness in the citta. The closest thing I can think of an experience that this may be describing, and I would like your opinion on it, is the idea we take up an object, but its ephemeral nature requires a picking up of a new object. So there's this constant, like, you can't stay with anything. So you always have to, and then there's in the Paryavaga, the seamstress simile, where he says that in Guja Nikaya that there is one side is arising, the other side is arising, and seamstress is the craving that hides the cessation.
Mm-hmm.
And is this? Do you think this for me is all related?
Yeah, very much so. And that's the, of course, I mean, it's exactly what samsara is as well in terms of wandering on. And it's not just world system to world system or birth to birth, but moment to moment. It's that wandering on and that seeking, the push to be something, because it's either out of a sense of assumed gratification, or out of fear and aversion of the present, or movement towards an assumed gratification. So there's this constant movement, and it's that investigation of movement that is it's just that nature of becoming, the bhava, and to be able to investigate that and to reflect on it and to consider it, and to, especially on the level of, how does it make us feel? Because we can intellectually sort of get it, but then what's that feeling that keeps us? And it's just that sense of not quite right, not quite enough, not, it's the what's that, Little Red Riding Hood, is too hot, too cold. It's just not quite right.
One thing additionally, though, and Rinpoche talks about Nietzsche as also being like uncertain. Like this nature of this movement is like, it is not possible to know what is going to arise.
Yeah.
So, and the idea that there seems to be this sense that one has to choose something to be aware of or be conscious of.
Yeah, but it's also it's coming back to that awareness itself. Is that's where that finding that refuge in the knowing itself. So then there's a sense of, it can be anything, as long and one is comfortable and confident within that, because it is. It's like Sariputta defining nibbana as that there's the one becoming ceases and the next arises. It's just this constant cessation of becoming. So that nibbana is a cessation of becoming. So they're willing to just resting in knowing, but without trying, because that's where the mind wants to fix onto it and make it into something, either a state or this is me, a possession. And that I think also what comes to mind is the Buddha's. It's in a few suttas, but that sambe dhamma nalang abhinivesadu, nothing whatsoever is to be clung to or to be held on to. Nothing's worthy of attachment. And it's not a dismissal or a pushing away, but it's sort of, there is a refuge within the knowing.
So that which arises, if it's a state, but you know it and you don't grasp onto it, what is it then? Is it still a state?
Oh, it doesn't have to be.
You're not becoming.
Yeah, but it's not me becoming. It's just sort of, because you can't hold everything back from not happening or not being or not existing. because that in itself is desire for non-existence. So that's where this middle way of the Buddhas becomes incredibly subtle. And so then it's not it's not that the first discourse of Samyutta Nikaya is how did you cross the flood? It's not by when I struggled, I was caught in the whirlpool, and when I stopped, then I sunk. That balance was that movement, that recognition. Of course, and that's where, in the Thai forest tradition, and that always comes back to the quality of knowing, being the knowing, being a Buddha, being awake, had a quality of awakening.
So irritation could arise for a Buddha, but the Buddha doesn't cling to it. He just is aware of it. So maybe it wouldn't be considered irritation. It's like that subtle.
Yeah, I mean something that doesn't. It isn't.
Or something, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean because the Buddha. Who is making all that racket? They sound like, it sounds like a fish market, and obviously the Buddha that wasn't pleasing to listen to. Or to say, what's wrong? Or the many, many, many uncountable times the Buddha had to establish a rule because the people were misbehaving. And so he's not going to be delighted because of that. And if he were indifferent, he wouldn't have bothered, but he was, okay, this is not appropriate, this is not skillful. This is not for the arising of faith in those who don't have faith and the maintaining of faith of those who do. This is the way to do it properly.
He also takes leave or asks Sariputta or the monastics to expound on brief teachings because of physical, he has to take rest.
Yeah.
Or lay down because of physical discomfort.
Yeah, physical discomfort. So I mean the Buddha is in the realm of. I mean, as long as you've got 5 khandhas, it's not comfortable. It's not a happy place. I mean, it's you can be free within that. You can experience happiness and well-being within it, but. There's a necessary limitation with just the nature of the body and the mind and the things of a compound nature.
The last time Ajahn Paññavaddho was here, he described existence or a car crash.
There were several references to original citta as well, like original mind.
Yeah.
Being sort of, that was interesting too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that the Thai forest tradition of, say, the Ajahn Mun lineage, northeastern Thailand. For years and years. Like in Sri Lanka, they didn't want Ajahn Mun book or Ajahn Mun books or Ajahn Mahabhu's books because it was heretical, talking about original mind.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Are you saying that any movement of the mind is dukkha?
Pardon?
Are you saying that any movement of the mind is dukkha?
Yes, absolutely. It doesn't mean that it's miserable and unbearable, but dukkha has such a nuance. That's why that sense of unsatisfactory is so helpful as an aspect of it. Any mental state, is impossible to take, say, as a refuge. I mean, obviously we have to rely on the mind. That's why training is so important, and it's the vehicle whereby we can see clearly, but it's that movement to say, oh, this is it, that's how I want it to be forever, or this is how it really should be. But that's exactly what the Buddha is saying. With that, in that, the Anatalakkhana Sutta, where the Buddha is questioning, is the through the five khandhas, any sankhara, mental formation, let's say that which is impermanent of a nature to change, just can't be taken as self.
Question on the original mind.
Yes.
Which way do we get to the original mind? Like, I know the meditation can get to it in a way that you can see, the mind's pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Is there any other, I mean, I don't know what the original mind is. I know it's
You got an idea. Well, I mean, that's an aspect of it. But I mean, it's also, that's the whole aspect of the past, and also just the fact that, just awareness. I mean, that's what the Buddha makes this very bold statement at the beginning of the Satipatthana Sutta of this cultivation and development of the four foundations of mindfulness it leads in one direction only, and that's to the ending of suffering, the complete freedom of the heart, coming to a place of that's original mind is just an idiom that is used in some circles. Thai forest tradition, Zen tradition tends to use it.
But, with the weakness of words, original mind doesn't have to mean sequentially over time.
Yeah.
It could be it's unconditioned. It's that which is prior to conditioning.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the danger of that word, because it has a very strong meaning of an origin in time.
Right.
As opposed to pure.
Yeah.
It's something. So it's like that. If there weren't this unoriginated, then there would not be the escape from the and which is a really important aspect of that.
I'm trying to remember the exchange. It's in the collected teachings of Luang Por Chah when the Western monks were asking Luang Por Chah about this point.
Right.
But I can't. Do you remember what it was? What his response was? They kept trying to.
Yeah. It was one particular monk.
Is that you too, Long Paul?
Trying to pin Luang Por, and I can't remember exactly, but Luang Por was kind of, it's just don't do that.
One of the things I remember is he said, you can call it that if you want.
Yeah, you can call it that if you want. It's just
it's okay.
yeah.
When you say call it that if you want,
Yeah, like original mind.
Yeah, I think they were like, is it the original mind? Is it Nibbana? Is that what we're talking about here? And he's like, well, yeah, you can call it the original mind, but it's written down. Maybe I'll read it on one of these. But
It's a great exchange.
It's a great exchange.
It's also it's the whole context of that kind of talk and the Q&A is actually really, really very helpful.
One aspect of it was like just the sort of classic. You can't nail it down. That's what they're trying to do. But he also wasn't dismissing what they were saying.
Yeah. But I remember reading it and first listening to it because it was taped. I think Luang Por really dealt with it skillfully because I know the person who's asking the question. He's just like a dog on a bone. He's just We're not going to let it go easy.
There's one Zen master, I don't know how his name is pronounced, like Banke or something like that. And he referred to it as like the unborn Buddha mind. And this was like his main point in all of his sermons. And when he describes it, it's very interesting. It's kind of like essentially like the knowing nature of the well, I don't know if you want to say of the mind, but the essential, the knowing nature, it's like spontaneous or automatic. It's just happening.
Yeah, and that's and it's just the nature of, say, us humans. We want to pin it down, and then as soon as you do that, then it crumbles to dust, or it turns into something else.
Well, maybe this is a question that wants to pin it down a little bit, but what? But still, or a dog should have got a bone. We're talking about movement of the mind and the Buddha. So, is the mind still moving, or there's just more stillness in an enlightened mind, or is it still moving and there's just more knowing of the movement?
Yes. Well, it's just that that idiom that Luang Por Chah uses, that like, and Ajahn Jayasaro used that as the stillness flowing, and in Thai it's like Nam Lai Ning. It's sort of it's water that is still but it's flowing. It's flowing but it's still. So it's and Luang Por was really good at using language to express things in a really kind of both direct but also poetic way, without it it being, but also practical.
And for me, like that phrase "stillness flowing," it also brings it back to like, what is movement, what is stillness, and how even questioning that as well.
Yeah, because the reality is, I mean, it's there are, say, the appropriate thing is movement, is thought, is and other times when the appropriate response is stillness, is stopping, is complete relinquishment, letting go. So it's, but they have to work together.